This is the Devil South. Our CSA campaign begins with a turning back of the clock to well before the Civil War, 1850s America. In the Indian Territory, Albert Pike is greeted by new Cherokee Nation chief Stand Watie, who had earlier conspired to usurp the authority of former chieftain John Ross. The Cherokee are thus all too happy to sign up with the Confederacy and exact vengeance upon the United States government for its cruel and disastrous Indian Removal Act policy and the Trail of Tears. Meanwhile, in Latin America, William Walker has not made enemies with the industrialist Vanderbilt family. Following a successful coup in Nicaragua, Walker maintains the established shipping institutions there and then averts war both with Costa Rica and Honduras. At the same time, efforts by Narciso Lopez, a former Spanish military commander turned revolutionary and mercenary, are bold and bear fruit for southern U.S. powers wishing for closer kinship and alliance in Cuba. In the treasured southern bosom of Virginia, Old Dominion, many of that state's elites, as well as most appointed and elected Virginia secession delegates, agree privately, accepting their future as a subject of the capitalist and industrialist power class of the North, will simply be out of the question. For now they remain cautious. Virginia, also recognizing the public furor and tides rising rapidly in favor of the Virgin Confederacy, believes a quick and decisive conflict with Washington may tame D.C. politicians. Virginia will declare allegiance to the South for the preservation of an age-old way of life, linked to the land and the bounty it provides, as opposed to the leeching of both. Northerners will be shocked and dismayed. For Virginia, the plague of Civil War will be a visitor once more. Well, how about that, gentlemen? An intro into our campaign experience right here in Grand Tactician, the Civil War, 1861 to 1865. I am Bank 60s, your humble and gracious player host. Humble and gracious as always. It's alternate history gaming right here. Thank you for joining in. We've got some guys who've already jumped into the chat. Thank you, gentlemen, for being so enthusiastic. I appreciate you so much. We have got quite a thing to get going. Of course, we mentioned, at the end there about not leeching the land. Well, we certainly aren't going to be doing a great job on the humanitarian front playing as the South. We'll just mention that as a disclaimer. So there have been pro-slavery forces at work for our fighting South. In this campaign, we will be starting spring 1861. We will be the South. We will put the difficulty on mediocre, okay? I don't like buffing the AI so much. Then they're very omnipotent. They know all. And it's less believable and plausible of a thing for me. Now, one thing I will do is I will ramp the aggressiveness up to elevated. Here are our decisions. As you can see in the intro, we did go with these three decisions. One veers from history. That is, instead of going with King Cotton, we are going to go with a successful paramilitary pro-slavery filibustering effort down in the Latin American and Cuban regions. I would also just say to you, that is the result of a poll that we did. This was a close one. We were 38% in favor of successful filibustering. We were 36% in favor of slavery to the West as an alternate history policy change going into this campaign. I wanted to make sure you knew about those results officially. For all of those who voted, thank you for participating. I think we had nearly 80 votes for that. It's the most I've ever had in any poll that I've ever done. So thank you for the participation on that. We have some player and fan input for this campaign, guys. We'll be playing with random
So we'll have to change ours back again one more time. That way, the Union is also a little bit randomized as well. We'll be benefiting from a variety of different things based on what you saw and heard in the intro. I'll go over those in detail right here. Stoic, thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you, sir. Appreciate you. Here we go. We approach the Native Americans, as you heard in the intro. This gives the Confederacy plus 25 support from the Indian Territory. Also, recruitment is made possible from many of the Indian tribes there. The number of volunteers from there is doubled. I plan to try and do some things with our Native American allies out west. That's special to me for sure. The filibustering in-game effects. Let's just look at that really quickly. Southern military experience starts at a +5. I like that. Just a tiny little advantage as we get the war going. Cuba will now be under Southern control, increasing trade and allowing recruitment. So we'll get just a little bit more manpower from that place. Then we go over to Old Dominion, which is pretty cut and dry. The capital moved from Montgomery, Alabama to Richmond, Virginia. Confederate support in Virginia goes up by 10. It was already fairly high. Virginia's secession and Richmond's close proximity to D.C. does come as a shock to the Union, and the citizens' morale in the North will go down by 5 right at the start of the war as a result right there. So I do like this +5 military experience and -5 Union national morale from the very start. I'll be very interested to see where the Union begins the game in terms of its policies. That's going to be one of the very first things I look at so that we can maybe adjust our strategy going in. I already have kind of like a broad idea, maybe what I want to do, but some of it is going to depend on what we see the Union go with here in this campaign. We do want to do order delays, fog of war, the readiness system, feuds. No, we will not auto-manage anything. I don't believe we did any auto management in the last campaign, and so I don't intend to do any here. From there, though, we will begin, and there will be a little bit more video intro to come. Stay tuned, guys. Remember, before we jump into the campaign, click the thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel. Of course, hype the stream and the video, jump in the chat. Let's have some fun watching and joining into the discussion around the game tonight. I really love it when you guys get involved. Of course, don't forget, when we drop the VOD, come on back. Watch for 5 minutes, fans. Hit the comment section too, and click the thumbs up button when it drops there as well. The last thing I'll mention, hit up the description. I build lore around each one of these campaign streams, and I'll be doing it in an even more concerted and focused way as we get into this Confederate campaign, which I know has been much anticipated. Let's go. The Southern states pursue a bit of review to do right off the rip. Okay? We have an economic situation to review, a military situation to review, a policy situation to review, and a few things to discuss before we actually hit the play button and begin the campaign. I do not, I have a hard rule, take any actual action until I have pushed play. Well, let's begin by looking at policies like we said we were going to. What is the Union going with now? Wow. They are going to go with breadbasket, industrialization, and Union Pacific Railroad. Wow. Wow. So they did build west. So they'll have access to their gold. Oh boy. They'll be able to industrialize in a big way. And they're going to control relations with Europe, I think, a little bit better than we are. We're going to have to try to hit the diplomacy hard. That's one thing as a part of our strategy that I was going to mention. But there you see what our Union enemies are going to be going with for their policies to begin the campaign. All hopes are this isn't going to be trouble for us. We'll be coming back to policies to discuss more about what it is we're going to need to do with it in just a moment. I wanted to look really quickly at things out west where we have what? Because the Indian Territory will go over to us. We have Fort Gibson here, very famous location. And we have a series of other forts, it would appear here. All of these I want to have reverted over to our control by at least summer or late summer 1861. That's one plan. And I would like to have an army in the Indian Territory, a smaller one, maybe an army that's made up of a lot of cavalry, maybe Indian troops on horses. That's an idea that I've had. And one thing I was thinking, of course, since we've made the moves with policy that we have, we really cannot rely, I don't believe, on help from Europe. That's a sense that I have about how this campaign's likely to go. We've kind of pissed off Europe by setting up our little pro-slavery republics in Cuba and in Nicaragua. We're able to trade pretty effectively down with those powers. And also strategically, I believe what that means is that the Gulf Coast, and specifically the two ports of New Orleans and Mobile, are going to be two of the most important cities in the entire war, except for Richmond and, I would say, Atlanta. The other population centers, I think, generally speaking, Nashville and Memphis will try to defend as best we can in Tennessee, but they are very losable, I guess you would say. Little Rock, we don't care all that much about, but it's New Orleans, Mobile, and Richmond that are the big crown jewels of the entire Confederacy. That's a good thing for starters. Let's look at strategy. As you can see here, the bonuses that we have, a little bit of extra military experience at a level of 10 to their 5. We have quite a bit more national support. Our morale of our armies, although it doesn't really even count so much right now, is quite a bit higher at 98. The national morale just a bit higher. Right now, General P.G.D. Beauregard is the General-in-Chief of the Confederate armies, kind of. Cuba joins the Confederacy. Nicaragua joins the Confederacy. Indian Territory joining Confederacy once we push play. I imagine all of that will be taking effect. And that may be out west where we'll end up taking some of our initial action. Obviously, hostilities have not actually broken out yet. And you can see that our objectives are limited right now to capturing Washington, D.C. and breaking the enemy's morale to win the campaign. It's got to be below 25. Capturing D.C. will reduce their morale by 20, the same as capturing the capital of the Confederacy, of course. And they have a much larger navy to start with. That's worth knowing. I imagine that, much like in history, we're going to have to go without a lot of naval power. Where we will focus our naval power likely will be down here in the Gulf states. We're going to reinforce fortifications down here. We're going to add fortifications along the Mississippi River where we can, how we can afford to do it. Probably add fortifications somewhere along the Tennessee River just to try and hamper Union efforts to come south there. And then, much like was done in history, the plan is thank you for the note about auto-managing policies. The plan in Virginia, as the case was in the real thing, this is where I want to make it a fight. Out north of Richmond, of course, I want to try to maintain control of the Shenandoah Valley. I want to try, if I can, to keep control of Harper's Ferry. I would love to be able to take the war north as often as possible, strike toward Harrisburg and Frederick and Baltimore, and try to keep the pressure on up here in order to eventually launch a campaign straight at D.C. It'll be, I think, pretty tricky. I have a feeling the way this game works, there's a chance that there's going to be a number of battles kind of in here, and we're going to, in 1861 and 2, we're going to go boing, 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 back and forth, up and down the valley. We'll have to see how that works out, of course. That's kind of the military strategy, I would say. And I think the thing we're going to have to rely on in terms of what we can get from Europe, which is probably not recognition, probably not official military support, but this stuff. If we can do well enough in the diplomacy section to attract these things, these weapons, these warships, I mean, if they want to jump in with the warships, the Prussian weapons, if we can beef up our forces with all of these things, I have a feeling like we might actually have a shot to win the thing. Obviously, time will tell. Aside from that, I would say we may be just about ready to actually begin the campaign. You see, Beauregard is preparing 800 men and 4 guns down here in near Charleston. We'll have the firing on Fort Sumter, I believe, as an auto event that comes up. Economically, I think it's important to look at what we're faced with in terms of railroads. Okay? This will be important militarily as well. I am going to want to direct the construction of a railroad that makes it out here to this fort if possible, or maybe even this one. So let's see if maybe we can Houston, Brashear, New Orleans, Tallahassee, Monroe to Shreveport. Okay. Houston to Shreveport. There we go. Houston to Shreveport, and then Houston, or rather, wherever this is, Galveston. So then Galveston becomes a very important location, again, where we could bring in Cuban troops too. If we get a railroad up through Dallas and over to Shreveport, I really believe we might be able to continue to put up a fight in this part of the country and advance through this part of the country just that much easier because we've got supplies being pushed ahead that much further. Let's take a look at what else we have here. Looks like we don't have control over enough to go here. Agreed, yeah. I think I want to go ahead and I want to do what we have to do to approve the additional costs to build this railroad. $31 million needs to be spent to authorize private companies to start construction of this railroad. The newly constructed track increases trade flow, supply, and unit transport speed. So let's do this once we push play for sure. That will be the very first thing we do. And then from there, I'm going to go along and probably spend a little money upgrading forts. Then I'm going to spend a little bit of money placing markets. And we're just going to try to goose the economy a little bit. We're going to probably take a hit in credit rating right off the rip. But here we go, guys. We're pushing play. America divided. President Buchanan unable to solve the crisis. Jefferson Davis to lead the Confederacy. Texas voting 3-1 to secede. The Union is dissolved just today. I think we've read enough about all that. All right, let's go. All right, so just after midnight on February 23rd, leaders in the South gather together and agree that the Houston to Shreveport Railroad will be built. We are a AAA credit rating. That's good. Now, let's set our sliders, shall we? We want to do diplomacy. We want to probably do that pretty high. Let's do military spending kind of at, you know, I'm going to put it kind of like not very high, but about there. Industry goes low. I mean, we're just not going to be able to depend on it. Agriculture, we're going to put at about $3 million to start. Okay, our tariffs and our sales tax. Let's have our sales tax be like 3%. Let's have our tariffs come down to 20% for now. Let's have our economic subsidies be, I think 2.25 is good. I think politics can be, 4 million is fine. Good. Surplus right now is plus 18 million. That's another thing, is that we probably can't afford to build a whole hell of a lot. We don't want to go on a ton of debt. Yeah, tax revenue is pretty weak right now for sure. All right, again, I wanted to look at these forts right here. We got level 2 and level 2. See, I was thinking I need to upgrade those. Level 2. Level 2, level 3, level 1. Level 2. Okay, well, I like this. That's pretty good. Got a level 1 fort here. We have no fort here. We might be able to build something. We got to wait for these boys to ready up. Here we have the Florida militia under Colonel Patton Anderson. All right. They've got mixed muskets. Can we upgrade them? Let's give them plains rifles. General Chase, he will be early replaced. Oh, he's a general though, a major general. Now we want to use Braxton Bragg down here. Colonel Braxton Bragg, he was in command of somebody down around this way early on in the war. And we're going to give him another, I'd say, let's give him some more Alabamans. Oh, look at how small the brigades are. That's crazy. So let's give them a small infantry brigade here. Let's go with, let's have these Alabamans be, oh gosh, this is where you can have some fun. We'll have them be kind of like basic like that, and they'll have, I like that right there. That looks good. So Colonel Millage Bonham, a political appointee, dang, but he will now command these 375 infantrymen. We got 500 with Anderson. Then I would say we want to take another small unit. We'll say, you know, they're only able to get this many men. And they'll look like, you know, they'll look very basic. And we'll have some 6-pound cannon. We'll do, let's do some 12-pound field guns. Or actually, what's the range on these 6-pounders? I forgot. I'll tell you what. We'll let them just have the 6-pounders, and we'll have ourselves the Florida State Militia. I think we'll actually change this to Gulf States Militia. Enter. And that inspires me to add a Louisiana squadron of cavalry, 250 men. Oh my God. Oh my God. Okay. I think we'll do these guys. All right. We'll be butternut and gray. Oh my God. They look homeless. No. We're proud in the beginning, right? Okay. We're proud in the beginning. Louisianans. That and the green pants. No, I like. Okay, so let's go there and there. That's a sharp looking group. Okay, Walker with their mixed cavalry weapons. The Springfield Musketoons. No, we'll just have mixed cavalry weapons because that's what we've got to use at the very beginning of the war anyway. And we'll have about 1,100 men and 3 cannons with the Gulf State Militia. Jefferson Davis inaugurated, president for 6 years. Confederacy seizing U.S. property. State militias are mobilizing. Confederate States Army being formed. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Fornicator, let me give you some credit in the chat right there. You, sir, have nailed it right on the nose, right in the head. We are going to have, I believe, I want anyway, for there to be a swarm of Indian troops that come out here. See, we've already taken a hit. A- credit rating right now. Okay. Our surplus is only 4.6 million as a result of what we've done there. Okay, we're making a little less tariffs and sales tax. Okay, so we need to put some markets in right off the bat. So I would say we need to look at our transport bottlenecks, which are relatively few and far between for the time being. I would say we could probably use markets over and around this area here. So let's go market right here. Right there. A new market right around Shreveport because, we're planning on expanding there, so we'll help markets build there. 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 Okay. Got that. I tell you, everything's moving pretty well anyway around most of our cities. Up through Virginia. We could do another market in West Virginia. Except we can't right now. Okay, that's fine. All right, so I'm glad we got those placed. Now, we've spent a little bit of money. We're going to have to watch ourselves. That means that policies, right off the rip, we're going to need to go with government funding to start with. Yes. Economy subsidies go up. We're going to need to help our economy in every way we can. Boom. Okay, those will be active. I'd say we definitely want diplomacy. And then we want military one. We're going to be aggressive. Okay, it's going to take 89 days. Ooh, I don't love that. So let's do this. And this. So both of these will take 57 days. since we're already raising troops and private, state militias and such, we'll just kind of mimic what the game's telling us that we're already busy doing in the background by our Confederate Congress working on a policy to increase military spending so that we can get some projects rolling, and to increase diplomatic policy spending, and so we can get some diplomatic money flowing as well. And that's what we'll go with for the time being. We do get some automatic Union units here. And I think that's the other thing, is that, like, we're going to end up with a neat little baked in, it's like a manpower advantage against history, I guess you might say, that we'll be able to use, just like you're saying there, that we'll be able to use our Latin American troops. We'll be able to use our Indian troops on this western flank. We'll be able to use our Latin American troops, I think, on the western flank too, or to augment, I think maybe post them as garrison forces. It was another idea I had. And by the way, we are kind of in late winter, so there's that. Here we go, South Carolina militia. We could probably increase spending on it, but we won't yet. And then I'll increase speed a bit. The other thing I think I wanted to try and take a look at was goods and trade. Okay. We produce 855 artillery. All right. Artillery ammo. See, none of this is worth very much, though. Clothing. Coal, we make a lot of that. Fish, too. Livestock. Iron, we make plenty of. Horses, we've got. Gunpowder. Gold, not a lot. Salt, a whole bunch of that. We're going to have to guard that. Kind of, guarding against what the strategy was that I was trying to work in my Union campaign. Ton of wood, ton of wool too, which makes sense. Cotton, obviously, crops for food and such. Take a look at production here. Let's check our ironworks, all right? We have 4 of them. Atlanta, across the South. You can see what they're able to make. Once Virginia comes into the fold, we're going to have a lot more. These guys are making provisions. Ironworks make small arms ammo and artillery ammo. We are going to need more of those, I will say. Jump into the chat. I believe. Hey there, from the Netherlands. Welcome in. Hey, baby, we're worldwide around here at Alternate History Gaming. So I believe that I want to take an aggressive stance. To answer the question, I want, if I can arrange for it, for there to be raiding galore out into Missouri and Kansas with the Native American troops. They'll be led by whites, because they have to be. But the idea will be to run them up this route and cause all kinds of trouble up around here to maybe run a force out and take this fort along the Santa Fe Trail and maybe even get so far that we're able to take the fort up at Kearney. I mean, that's all pie in the sky, most likely, pipe dream kind of stuff. But I want to go on the attack out here. So that, if that answers the question. I want to go on the attack also down here, if I can manage it. Get the Gulf States militia around here, down this way, and then we'll assault the fort. Problem is, only having 3 cannon to do it ain't going to cut the mustard, right? We're going to need... I would say that one of the things that we begin doing as kind of like a little alternate history effort, because I do want to open up the port here in Pensacola, Florida. It would be good to do it, is to give ourselves a little bit of a navy down here if we can afford it to do it. So if we did a new fleet in Pensacola's port, okay, and we gave them the CSS Fulton, the CSS Petrel, and the CSS Washington, a 12-gun brig. We'll have Captain Franklin Buchanan. Can we replace him? He's a Naval Academy graduate, and he's a Navy man. He's a captain. I think we keep him in command. He's a 2-star guy. Okay. We're going to call this the Gulf Coast Squadron. Bingo. Yeah. So that's what we're spending a little bit of money on when we get it. When Tennessee decides to secede, we will focus on that 100% because you're right. And here you go. We're going to have our little Navy here. They're going to be on defensive for sure. They're in port. So they'll get themselves organized and we'll be ready. You know, that's the Yanks will see us getting everything prepared to have our ships. You know, they've got spies down here at Fort Pickens that'll spot what we're doing, I'm sure. But I believe we'll have ourselves a little operation in the Florida Panhandle. Doing a little late winter, spring, summer to get into this Confederate campaign, guys. How are our finances looking right now? Okay, we're a little better. Okay, we did borrow a bunch of money. And we're losing $31 million now. So we are already going to be going in debt. Interest rate's pretty high. Building that railroad, that's going to cost us a bit. We need to take emergency action, and we'll say that we started at these rates and that now we need to go back up on both sales tax and tariff revenue. Just a bit there. Let's bring it back down on diplomacy. We want to try to pinch pennies right here. And agriculture. Okay. Let's not worry about it. Let's bring it way low. Okay? We can do 8 policies for starters, okay? And by the way, for those who aren't too familiar with the game, Gulf of America Squadron. All right, very well. Hang on. Gulf of America Squadron. Bingo. Did I save it? Did I not? Yeah, I did. Somehow, it didn't come up. Gulf Coast Squadron. All right. Okay, we'll go ahead and go times 5. Try to compress a little time as Virginia figures out what it wants to do. Loyalties in Missouri torn. Secessionist Minutemen mustered. Missouri Volunteer Militia formed. Governor Jackson preparing a secession. Unconditional Union Party formed. Tensions in Missouri are running high as the state seems to be drifting towards secession. The state had entered the Union as a slave state following the Missouri Compromise of 1820, which was nullified in 1854 by permitting the Kansas and Nebraska territories to vote on slavery. This resulted in bitter fighting, bleeding Kansas. In the recent presidential elections, Lincoln received only 10% of Missouri's votes, indicating there the state's stance toward his ideals. News from the state indicate Governor Claiborne Jackson, a known Southern sympathizer, has sought to use the state militia to his advantage. On February 13th, General Frost formed Missouri Volunteer Militia Companies composed entirely of pro-secessionist Minutemen, which could be used to advance on St. Louis and the U.S. Armory there if needed. To counter this sentiment, an unconditional Union Party was formed to support the preservation of the Union at all costs. It seems very likely the stance of armed neutrality will not succeed for long. All right. So we have the situation developing out west in Missouri. And we'll look at support, right? Missouri's support is 45% for the Union, so not much. Kentucky, 40% for the Union. How about that? Kentucky vows to remain neutral. Governor Goffin, a Southern sympathizer. Secession gaining support. Unionists rallying supporters. Neutrality not realistic if war erupts. I would say that's correct. The state of Kentucky is becoming strategically important to both the North and the South. It has a large population and is a major producer of tobacco, corn, and wheat. Looking from the South, the state offers a great defensive boundary along the Ohio River. Dang, Skippy. That would be something where I could consider a major offensive early in the war. Kentucky Governor Beriah McGoffin is known to favor the right of secession, but is seeking all possible avenues to avoid it. McGoffin called a special session of the Kentucky General Assembly December 27, 1860, and asked legislators for a convention of Kentuckians to decide the Commonwealth's course regarding secession. The majority of the General Assembly had Unionist sympathies, however, and it declined the governor's request. But this does not mean the state will not secede in case of hostilities, especially if initiated by the U.S. government. In case the state remains in the Union, it will most likely declare neutrality, but in this case, it's unsure whether the North and the South would both respect that neutrality. So that's interesting to see. We'll be waiting to see what happens there. Of course, not a whole lot to do right off the rip. We're now at an A credit. We were at A minus. We're back up. We're down to negative 16 million instead of negative 31. That's better. I like that. I like that. Let's check our supply flow. Right, okay, so we've got a ton of it. Here, 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 more here and here. Interesting. Obviously, when we get North Carolina, here we go with Fort Sumter. Fort Sumter situation deteriorates. PGT Beauregard takes command. The fort garrison low on supplies. More siege artillery moved to Charleston. Fort Pickens holding on. Indeed. Many of us know the history around this, of course. Yeah, right. So the best I think I can do instead of policy of King Cotton, because King Cotton for us is just going to increase agricultural subsidies. Like, that's all it's going to be worth to us in game, I would say. The other thing for us to do is for there to be pretty high tariffs. You're right. I would say, yeah, through as far as we can get away with it. Oh, we're back to minus 40 million. Oof. Oof. Market influences. We have 2. They have a bunch. Bingo! Texas joins Confederacy. Fantastic. Maps updated. Borders have moved, fulfilling the manifest destiny. Indeed. Fantastic. Ooh, we got a prison camp being constructed. Interesting. And you can see where we have a bunch of shortages of stuff. We got a glut of stuff in a lot of places, but shortages in a lot of other places. Okay. Got a bunch of coal here. We're low on lead, wood, iron, gunpowder, and coal here. We'll have to fidget with a little bit more of that. Transport bottlenecks. All right, here we go. Lincoln inaugurated now, the 16th president of the United States. A new cabinet to handle the crisis. Buchanan leaves office. Northern population calling for action. Hail to the chief. Abraham Lincoln is inaugurated the 16th president of the United States today. His controversial election is said to have triggered the current secession crisis at hand, and now it is him, after the lame duck Buchanan has stepped down, who needs to steer the ship of the Union in this crisis. That's a big day, March 4th, 1861 indeed. So credit rating is still an A, right? Okay, we're back to 19 million underwater. We need to get other states involved. I'd say I want to take this fort. I want there to be a new army if I can get away with it in Texas. Nope. It won't be under Albert Sidney Johnson. This will be under Colonel Richard H. Anderson is a cavalry commander and a West Point graduate, a veteran of the war and a colonel. What does this really mean anyway? I've actually never looked that up. Okay. It's not going to say. So I like having Richard Anderson out west. That's fine. I want a cavalry commander, that's for sure. So you got an infantry commander in Withers. Yeah, I say we have Richard H. Anderson out there commanding this new force. All right. And we'll give him from Tejas some cavalry troops. And by the way, the Indian Territory. No, we're going to do Indian troops, boys. Right off the bat, huh? Okay, let's go cavalry regiment. Okay, we can only make them look one way, I guess. Fine. They'll be dressed like this. Fantastic. Okay. And we'll have 2 units of 250 is what we'll do for starters. There'll be 12-month contracts. Good. Recruitment cost, $122,000. That works for me. Good. All right. So we'll have Withers, nope. We want to replace him with a cavalry commander if we can find one. Okay. Earl Van Dorn. Why not, man? Put him out in Texas? This would be too fun, huh? Oh, hey, Sibley, huh? Okay, okay. How about it? How about it? Let's put Sibley in command of the first. This will be not the Indian Territory State Militia, no. This will be the Army of the West. Sibley will command the 1st Indian Cavalry. Okay. He'll end up as a, a breveted lieutenant colonel in command. We'll have another 250 men. That are Indians. And we'll just switch it with them. They'll be dark gray and they'll have the butternut. Good. And we'll have them be under, again, a cavalry commander. Steel. Nathan Evans? Really? But let's do Earl Van Dorn. Sibley and Earl Van Dorn. Let's go. So, R.H. Anderson in command of this force out here as a breveted brigadier general will take over 500 men and 2 units under the command of Sibley and Van Dorn in the Army of the West out here at Austin, Texas. And we'll wait for them to get organized, and they'll begin marching north straight to Dallas. And then to Sherman, likely after that. And we'll be ready to go with them. And that will probably be it. That'll probably be all that we do right now as we get into the war here. All right, we'll go 5 times again. Okay. This was another one. I was thinking about it. Virginia's loyalty to the Union questioned. Rumors of increasing support for secession. Further states threatening to leave the Union. Confederate support in Virginia soars. Yes, indeed. We knew that that was coming. Well, right. So I don't want... I want to stay aggressive. I would really love to be on the attack, taking the war into the border states or the north. I mean, getting across the Ohio River and staying across the Ohio River is dubious, to say the least. I would say that the aggressive action comes over here in the east and out here in the far west. I think we'll be aggressive in spots here in the west and Trans-Mississippi, but mostly defensive over here. The strategy will be to go ahead and focus on trying to build forts. I'm not going to do that until we get Arkansas, Tennessee, North Carolina, and Virginia in the fold. That way we've got a lot more capital to work with and a lot more government revenue to spread around. It should work a little bit better for us. Oh, that was the other thing. We wanted to take care of this, which is we need to get another fleet ready in New Orleans. Okay, and we are going to have pretty much everything else we can afford to have out here. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, pretty good commander, Captain George Hollins. He's just a volunteer. Could we replace him with somebody who's a little bit better? Who's a little bit better? Commander. All volunteers. Commander Raphael Sims. We don't want him. He's got a special assignment. So, okay. Captain Duncan Ingram. No. Okay, so we'll just leave. Oops. Did we cancel that whole thing? Okay. New. Okay. Captain Franklin Buchanan. Gulf America Squadron. New Orleans Squadron, Captain George Hollins. Yeah, okay. So we're going to do that, and that's all good. And this will be the home squad, the Cajun, the Ragin Cajun Squadron. Right there. So we'll go with. Gotta love that. And we'll spend a little bit more money to do that. And we'll speed through this early part of March. I'll tell you what, I'll slow it back down again because, gentlemen, here we're early in the morning, right? I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to leave it here for just a second while I refill a drink. We got a Mason Jar and a beer to come back and get, of course. You guys hang tight. It is Grand Tactician. It is our new CSA campaign. Don't forget, click that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you're brand new and watching tonight. Love you guys for being here. I'll be right back once I refresh my drink. There was one thing I was thinking about is before we got too much further. I want to look at this. So who is it that we have? Like, I want to take a second here. I want to look at the names we've got to work with, the quality of the commanders that we have right at the beginning of the campaign right here. I haven't gone in, and I didn't pay close enough attention to this when I was doing my Union campaign, really. I'd love to go in and just kind of like get a look at the personalities that we have. Mason Jar and a beer here. Cheers to you. Oh, it's so refreshing. So, let's look at Army. So, let's look at our volunteers. Benjamin Culla, we know about him, of course. And he's not bad, but it seems that he is deteriorating a bit. Adley Gladden, not great. James Walton, not great. These are our highest ranking guys. Henry Clayton. Excuse me, I burp when I do them. Maxie Gregg. Colonel. Definitely like all these guys. William Butler, Lieutenant Colonel. And then we've got our majors and captains. Lane. These guys are all veterans, though. A bunch of them. So there is that. John G. Walker, and Donavant. What if we do professionals? Now, okay, Albert Johnson. We're gonna have to. I think I'm going to bring him. I think we need to have him out west. Okay. And then we're probably going to end up having Beauregard in the east, like was the case in history. We have R.H. Anderson in command way out west. Bragg in command near Pensacola. Johnson will begin building an army probably in Tennessee before long. D.R. Jones, Withers, yeah, S.D. Lee, Lawton, William Walker. Yeah, these are all guys that I want kind of in, in some of my first units that I get. I would love, of course, to look up the history of all these guys. If you guys want to do some work on that, find out where these guys all started, and I might try to do the best I can to start them in places where they're, close to where they're from. And here we got Sibley, Van Dorn, Hardy right here. A lieutenant colonel right now. Look at that. They've got him as a cavalry man. No way. Huh. I wonder if that's accurate, though. James Longstreet is a major infantryman. Kirby Smith. I would say we need to go with our West Point graduates, since we have so many of them commanding our brigades right up front. Say we have these guys, they already have a couple of stars. So I think what we might want to do here, we want to go ahead and promote the ones that are already like 2 stars. So he gets to be a colonel. McLaws gets to be a, okay, Longstreet gets to be a lieutenant colonel. Kirby Smith gets to be a lieutenant colonel. Benjamin Augier gets to be a lieutenant colonel. Lafayette McLaws gets to be a major. We've got Frank Armstrong, a cavalryman. We'll make him a captain. Joseph Wheeler, cavalryman. He gets to be a captain. Ferguson, Sears, Maxey, Randall. Let's look at, we got a lot of cavalry commanders. William Hardee and R.H. Anderson. I don't know about that one, man. What? That's crazy. Earl Van Dorn, Sibley, Evans. Okay, we've got a pretty good stable of cavalry leaders. Pretty good. Okay. Infantry leaders that are professionals. Pretty good stable. Okay. We got these guys to work with that are professionals. So I would say from a role-playing standpoint, we'll go with them first, plus Johnston. I'm going to have to try to remember that. And then, what about our artillery specialists? Colonel, Lieutenant Colonel, Captain, Lieutenant. Augier, Lawton. Got a bunch of captains, so that's good. And lieutenants is fine. We got any 2-star guys anywhere here? Captain Samuel French. Let's promote him. These, I'll just count that. The 2-star guys that start off that way, he'll be a major. Basically, they get an automatic promotion because, you know, they show promise or what have you. And then we'll go ahead and advance on. Yeah, okay, well, hey. That's me not knowing as much as I wish I did. Shit, about Hard E right there. I did not know that. Just goes to show you, by the way, you know, Hard E didn't end up commanding much cavalry directly, you know. Oh, that was the other thing. So what can we do here? We can subsidize the construction of different things. What is it that... I forgot what foundries do. Foundries in Memphis. Oh my gosh. Okay. They make iron and bronze. So we probably need another one of those somewhere. Okay, where do we have ironworks? So in Tuscaloosa, Atlanta. Wait. Right, okay. We don't have any, I don't think we have any foundries. I think we have to import all of our stuff. Let's look at what we're getting, if anything. Small arms ammo, sugar. No iron or anything, though. Okay. We're not going to be making any sales tax, of course. Transport capacity is really, really high. That's good. What about here? Fish, locomotive, salt, niter, flour, wood, uniform. No iron, though. Here we go. Confederate States Army established. Organization patterned after the U.S. Army. Davis authorized to call up 100,000 men for the defense of the South. Regular army of 16,000 men planned. State militias commanded by state governments. During recent weeks, Confederate States Congress has passed acts that effectively have established the Confederate States Armed Forces. On February 28, 1861, an act establishing the Provisional Army of the Confederate States, or PACS, was passed, and on March 6th, another act established the Permanent Regular Army Organization. The Confederate Congress has provided for a Confederate Army patterned after the United States Army. It is to consist of a large provisional force to exist only in times of war, and a small permanent regular army. The Army of the Confederate States of America, ACSA, is the regular army and is authorized to include 15,015 men, including 744 officers, but it seems very unlikely this level will ever be achieved. Interesting. Confederate state militias, on the other hand, are already being organized, so a bunch of those. And we're not getting iron from anywhere, it doesn't look like. Guess we're not able to. All right, and now we'll bring up the speed just a tad. This will, how long will it take? Oh, okay. So they're waiting for reinforcements. Finances. Okay, minus 25 million. That's not bad. It's not bad. Let's look at our market influences again. It's like we haven't quite built the ones that we wanted to build. Yep, we're working on them. We'll be waiting for Arkansas, Tennessee, and North Carolina next as the political situation continues to develop. We try not to go broke. I think our credit situation will recover significantly when we add those other states. Arizona, New Mexico. Hey, we are getting bronze out of here. Not much. None, really. Transport capacity is super low. Another super low transport capacity. We are bringing coal. Nice. I need to actually read into more of about how those trade nodes work, honestly. Not entirely familiar. All right, what kind of projects are we looking at here? How are we doing? Okay, we're slow going. Slow going. See, some of the diplomacy funding will be needed for some of these projects. I just know it. Yeah. Can't do any of them yet, though. And at the very beginning of the game, you know, you're doing a whole lot of run it. Run it, run it. Let's take a look at something. I was going to see if I wanted to build a new army. Okay, what do we got now? It's got 3,200 troops out of Georgia. It's just that the credit rating situation is not something I like. You know, I'd love to be able to keep the credit rating up. It's just my thing, really. You can see our rail capacity is not great. Seaborne capacity not great. We're gonna have to remember that. We're kind of landlocked in this campaign. Anybody would throw in? Which state comes next? North Carolina, Tennessee, Virginia, or Arkansas? Anybody remember from their history books? I'm going to throw that out there. I wish I had a prize for you. You have my admiration for sure. Trying to set ourselves up here. Trying to set ourselves up to run a strategy that I think will be really interesting. What I think we'll do out here, once our troops are in, so it's going to take a long time. We got to train up those Indians. They're going to come all the way south to Austin to train. So we won't have them until summertime. We won't have them to use until about summertime. So we're going to need to come up here to Dallas. We're going to need to build a depot for starters, just in case. And then we're going to run them in a campaign up to take the area around Sherman. And then once we've secured Sherman, we build another depot. And this is where we go ham. We probably split the force. We secure these Indian villages. We go with another part and we secure this one. And continue moving this way until it's time to hit Fort Gibson. And we'll have a tough one on our hands there. Trying to come across a river. But we'll need to take that. Either that, or we could come up through Arkansas and flank it and take it from the landward side. So that'll be an interesting little campaign there. We'll probably combine the forces out here from Texas and whatever we end up putting together out here in Arkansas. Tough to say what we'll end up doing there. Who's next? Who's gonna be next? Oh, by the way. Okay, so yeah, that event didn't trigger the military policy, so there you have that. Ooh, a snowy time here in mid-March. Yeah. Maybe a harsh winter in the north this time around there. We could we could build ships. We could build more ships. I wonder about that. I wonder about this. So let's go construct new ship. Provisions. I don't think I want provisions to be real high. Sloop of war, steam sloop. Schooner. Interesting. I think we maybe do some third-rate steamers. Let's do 4 of those. That'll take 4,000 shipyard capacity. We'll be able to do that. Get ourselves prepared with some naval assets. I might begin a fleet somewhere along the Carolina coast here, somewhere maybe Savannah. So we'll add that to the military. I was glad we got to know our officer corps just a little bit there. We don't have many naval officers. Now I want to try to kind of zip down, so get to know kind of where we have what. As far as resource, you got farms. Excuse me. You've got ironworks there. Telegraph station. Excuse me. We got a lot of farms. Plantations. Right? Yeah, more of them. There we go. Got a market in Charleston, yeah. Oh, which reminds me. I think our market influences are in. Yes. Speaking of Savannah, a speech delivered in Savannah. Stevens addresses the nation. Cornerstone address. New government foundations laid. On March 21st, the Confederate Vice President, Alexander H. Stevens, gave an oration in Savannah, Georgia, in which he stated the new government's foundations are laid. In the speech, he argues the 18th century view that all men are created equal is erroneous, and that our new government is founded upon exactly the opposite ideas. Its foundations are laid, its cornerstones rest upon the great truth that the Negro is not equal to the white man, that slavery, subordination to the superior race, is his natural and normal condition. The speech has been named the Cornerstone Speech. In it, Stevens also argued against central government spending on internal improvements and that due to low debts of seceded states, they are sufficient to form a successful republic. He also predicted that surely North Carolina, Tennessee, and Arkansas would be members of the Confederacy in the near future, and that Virginia, Kentucky, and Missouri would also eventually join. So there's a lot of optimism in the South at this stage. So our transport bottlenecks should begin to ease over here as our markets take over. And we're getting a little more sales tax. That's good. And we're not down as much money. That's good. That's what you like to see, boys. It's all politics. It's all politics until the shooting starts. Won't be long now. I wonder if they manufacture low readiness that stays low. Yeah, they're still waiting for troops to arrive. No, they're not. We'll call Colonel Stephen D. Lee. Yeah, that's good. And Cap George S. James, artillery commander with 4 guns. We'll give them, we'll call them, let's give them 12 pounders. Let's go. Let's go. 12-pound field guns. The South Carolina State Militia. We'll let it be that. We'll probably change it. We'll be moving it eventually, I suspect, anyway. How about this fort? Level 2. Look at that. Now, at some point, I'm thinking maybe it'd be smart to go level 3 with these. Or, here, let's slow it back down again. This is something the government could spend a little money on right here. Which fort is this? Fort St. Philip. Fort St. Philip Garrison. Transferring units to garrisons pre-war not allowed. Wow, okay. Interesting, I did not know that. The answer is yes, railroads can be built in this game. We are doing that, as a matter of fact. Dunk. There's our railroads tab. We are building the Louisiana, Houston, and no. Yes, the Texas, Houston, and Shreveport to here. And it's 12% finished. So we should have it done by the end of the year. 1862 is going to be a big year in our campaign, just like it was for the Confederacy in history, I do believe. And so you can see all the different railroads that you can add, right? We're going to keep Florida kind of a backwater. Alabama, Jackson, Selma. Houston, Brashear. East-West stuff was important. New Orleans, Tallahassee right there. That one is one right there that I think at some point down the line we're going to look at building. I think that'll be an important one. Monroe to Shreveport. Again, east-west. And then you have all these others. Not auto-managing anything. Yeah, we don't want to overwhelm the government war chest with construction. But what I would say is I think we go for a little bit of an aggressive naval construction plan coming up here soon, too. Oh, no, the next thing I think we've got to focus on is, you know it, we need... Oh, shoot. Do we not, okay, do we not have the ability to do available in depots? Where do we have depots? We've got 30,000 Springfield muskets. You get 2.5 shots a minute at 250 yards. Price of 503. Yeah, it's... We do 10 pieces still left of that. We do have Springfield rifled muskets we could hand out or order. It's not produced, not in production, not produced, not in production. Production only, okay. We've got howitzers. Not in production, not produced. Yeah, that sucks. This is going to be interesting. Getting weapons is the South. I wonder how we're going to solve that conundrum. You know, they did it in history by importing the weapons and blockade runners. How you do it here in game? I'm not sure about that. You know, we probably could subsidize some rice production down here would not be bad to ramp up food production. Flour, these the flour's good. So rice is kind of a crop, I guess, huh? Livestock and horse farms grow crops. Livestock and horses need to feed, cloth, move the nation. Yep. So we can use slave labor on it. That makes it cheaper to do. Wow, 12 million. That's a major investment. I think that's probably a little too much for the government to do. auto managed weapons purchases. Absolutely, turn that off. Thank you. I don't want to auto manage anything, damn it. Bingo. And again, just want to look at, we've got 8,700 troops to draw on now. Except, I don't think that's actually like a totally accurate count. Here we go, a little winter weather in Florida. Bragg's command, 1,100 troops. We've got over 10,200, so Texas has got almost 2,000 more. That's good because we're going to want to do stuff out there. Cuba, 551. So yeah, I think that I'll try and bring on some Latin American fort garrison troops is what I'm going to do right there. Yeah, I think that's actually what we'll focus on. Fort garrison troops. Once we've got a little bit more money and the ability to garrison forts, I think that's what I'm going to focus on initially. We'll let the automatic events populate our armies, our field armies initially. There we go. They have enacted Funding 1. Yes, the union economy is going to benefit. Printing new notes. Tariffs on imports go up. Yes, they are preparing for war. Same as us, by God. Same as us. Yeah. We got to remember that. Rice paddies doing farms here. I think that that's what that allows for. And then it's one of those east-west railroads that goes through here. But that one down in the Gulf, that'd be just fine. I'd like it sooner rather than later to be 100%, because it's a pain to have to try to cross the Mobile River there, or whatever river that is. Hey, okay, we're doing a lot better right here. I dig it. How close are we on policies, man? Boom. 21 days. 21 days. All right, so we'll be able to get both of those in before there are true hostilities, I think. How are we looking projects-wise? Politics money is going up. I have a feeling like this might be something that we do. Finance diplomatic envoys will be sent to Europe to advance on support, possibly influence. Yeah, each level is project. No, I really don't think we should focus on this. I mean, we send diplomats over. The reason to send them is for weapons. Haven't checked the strategy. So, okay. Boy, the national support in the north is pretty low. Wow. They only have 2,300 men fielded. We've got them outnumbered right now. Nice. Looks like an event. Looks like an event helped them out with some military experience right there. It says evenly, or, oh, I thought that said, yeah, economy is way higher for them. But that will change once we have Virginia, North Carolina, Tennessee, and Arkansas. Again, the lottery is out. Which one's it going to be first? Arkansas? I think you might have been right. We've only issued bonds once. Okay. Interest rate was 8.89%. Okay, 35 million total outstanding debt. That's not terrible. Land sales are going pretty good. I like that. That's good. Unemployment's really low. Interest rate's gone down here. We'll have to issue bonds pretty soon again here. Construction complete. The market. Yep, good. The Shreveport market, good. Here we go. Monthly economy report from March. This is about a month old. We're going to have to read the next one that comes out immediately after this. His Excellency the President, the current rating of our nation, A, it's very good. Our debt did increase, and we know that. Currently, liabilities amount to $60 million. Current economy cycle is expansion. The wealth of our population is below average and increasing compared to the previous month. Our tax revenues increased by $45 million. 3 buildings constructed, 2 markets, and 1 prison camp. Wow! Wow! So the game already knows of our plan. Go figure. Auto-managed projects? Is that... Get out of here. God dang it. Thank you. Okay. Total export volume tons last month was 17 million. 14 million worth of goods imported. Wow, look at that. A positive trade deficit. Maybe that's got to do with Cuba and Nicaragua. Average corporate production over the last 3 months was 123 million. Change of nothing. Okay. We have a healthy economy, it looks like. That's good. According to our intelligence sources analysis, the federal government's currently discussing federal government funding. One, they did that. Okay. Yeah, okay. Then Confederate militias recruited in Cuba. Cuba, a supply base for the Confederacy. Number of Cuban volunteers remains low. Walker's Nicaragua sending supplies. The Spanish calling for revenge. Here we go. This is as a result of our successful pro-South filibustering down in the Latin American lands. The governments of Cuba and Nicaragua have decided to join the Confederacy to support their fellow Southerners. After Cuba was captured from the Spanish and filibuster William Walker had declared himself president of Nicaragua. After Cuba was captured from the Spanish and filibuster William Walker had declared himself president of Nicaragua, the southern states have had a firm base of supplies overseas. The Confederate authorities in Havana have started the recruitment of volunteers to join militias. Many of these men have combat experience from the Mexican War and from fighting against the Spanish. Queen Isabella II of House Bourbon has made it very clear that the loss of Cuba to the bands of American filibusters is not forgotten. While Spanish influence in the Americas has declined after the Spanish-American Wars of Independence 1808 to 1833, the Spanish Empire is still a major naval and military power. After the deterioration of relations between the North and South and the secession crisis, Spanish diplomats have approached Washington, D.C. Even if an alliance against the Confederacy sounds far-fetched, in a moment of Southern weakness, the Spanish could attempt to retaliate, avenging their lost prestige. Could we see Europe get involved against us? Oh, my word. Okay, yeah. Let's do auto managing. We want to turn it all off. You're right. None of it auto-managed here. None of this. None of that. Okay. If you're talking about auto-managing industries... Okay, auto-manage, no. No. Auto-manage, auto-placement, no. Okay, good. All right. I don't think I auto-managed any of that stuff before. I'm pretty sure I didn't. Yeah, private companies will still populate. They'll still spawn IIPs and resource generating areas. They'll still do that. It's just that there won't be anything placed out there that I don't know about. By God, I'm Jefferson Davis. I'm going to know what's out there. Again, get to know the land a little bit here. Boy, I wouldn't mind fighting a war in this area of Alabama. This area of Mississippi. Heavily wooded. Of course, you got the big river there. That's another area where we're probably going to want to put a navy. Look at this. Oh, that's where auto-managed facilities comes in. Okay, we're going to want to stop that, I think. Shoot, 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 shoot. Okay. Got it. Okay. That's where we were getting some of this. Well, hey, man. They're going to auto-place some prison camps. I guess I don't have a big problem with that. That works for me. I don't love it that it happened, but and then you've got one that's way the heck up here. Washita Ferry Prison Camp. Supply situation in Fort Sumter critical. Lincoln planning a relief expedition. Sumter 60 guns prepared for battle. Heavy artillery surrounding Fort Sumter. Major Anderson refuses to surrender. Oh, we know about Fort Sumter, don't we, boys? Oh, we know about Fort Sumter, don't we, boys? Whole lot of news clippings and waiting here in the very beginning of the game, I would say. Spending some money there, auto-placing prison camps. So we've got... I feel like... 5.5 million for a bank. I feel like we could put a bank somewhere. What does a bank give us? I forgot. National banks increase the available capital in the region, increasing private wealth, lowering construction costs of companies. Furthermore, national funding becomes cheaper as war loans become available for the broader public. Okay, we can't build those yet. Oh, a news agency wouldn't be bad. For 2.9 million. Where would we want? So usually you want to put those near the front line, though. So I don't think. Yeah, I mean, really, the game was auto-managing and placing these prison camps because it's kind of like the only thing that in markets, the only thing that we can really build and feel good about building. Maybe we could do another couple of markets. Check our transport bottlenecks. How about another market outside Clarksville. Right there. I think that'll work. Lot of support. 90%, 95%, 100%, 95, 96, 76% in the Indian territories. Right there. Oh, and after that event with the recruitment out of Cuba, let's take a look here at who might be, like how many more Cubans can we recruit now? Okay, not many more. Not yet anyway. But those, I believe those numbers will go up after we have passed this. Because it kind of goes up across the board after you pass that policy. Check the chat. See where it's at. No. This is a single player game. Best, I mean, you know, I could talk for hours about it. But it is a gem. We had somebody jump into the chat earlier say that after watching some of my content, they went ahead and they bought the game. And this is 5-6 years since its early access release. This is 3 to 4 years removed from building out their entire roadmap. I might take a minute to talk a little bit on that, I guess, here while we're waiting for things to kind of happen. Is the way that I understand that games are being developed now is different from the way that they were developed and they were offered to the public for purchase in my heyday. I am an older millennial. I was gaming, PC gaming. Excuse me. I was PC gaming back in the age when there was still floppy disks. I played Talonsoft's Battleground series for Civil War games. I've been gaming a really long time. What I am accustomed to, and I think this is kind of like the older millennial kind of a generation similarity, is I go to Best Buy. I have my game that I've been waiting months for to release. The game has been worked on. It has been polished as much as it can be polished. You go and you buy it in the box. You take it home in the box. You unbox it. You've got floppy disks, or in the case of, you know, newer technology after that, a CD-ROM. And you may have 4 or 5 of them that you have to load in your computer, right? But the game comes out. It is a finished product, and you get what you get, and they add some patches. You know, the best that could be achieved at the time, by the way. But in my day, it was you get what you get. You pay the money, and they got you, even if it's kind of like a imperfect type of a game, right? So what I know has transpired over the intervening time since I've, since we've gotten into the 20-aughts and the 20-teens and the 2020s, is, and I noticed this development, is that a game will come out in early release. It will be up on Steam or for digital download, and it will kind of be out in the ether in the world there to have a community built around it, and then constantly developed and refined as time goes along. I've known that is the way that things have been going in gaming for a long time. I'm not somebody who I would say prefers things to be that way, because I kind of like the way that it was before, when you just go to the store, you buy your box, you take it home, and you've got your game, whether you like it or not, whether it's any damn good or not, or whatever. And they also did a little bit better job, I think, putting together complete products back then. Now, development teams who know that they're going to be developing the game for years and years and years and years and years, for as long as they've got players who want to play the game, they probably can tend to get a little bit lazy when they actually roll it out at the very beginning. All right, so I have all of that in my head, and what I believe is a good approach to a lot, for those who want to be cautious with their money, with their hard-earned money, is to allow, I mean, if you're super excited about a game, you know, and you want to jump on and you want to follow it through its journey, that's one thing I would say. But I think that if you want to get the game when it's all the way peak as it can be anyway, is to wait like a year or more as they've gotten down their roadmap a little ways, and wait for all of the bugs and everything to be ironed out, then get the game. Take a while to learn the game, especially one that's as robust as this one. You know, it's similar to those Paradox titles that I love to play, like Crusader Kings 3 or Victoria 3, which I may play one day, but I love that one. And the level of complexity that they've got and the different sandbox options and narrative-driven things in the game. So, you know, I think that if you just give them a little more time to cook before you purchase the game, that's what I kind of did with this one. Or I got it and I was on board for a while, and I saw it was like it was an imperfect product right after release. That's what the Steam reviews, I think, reflect from a lot of people who played it back then. But what we have now is closer, much, much closer to that product that I am used to having early on, which is to go to the store, get the box. It's done. It's cooked in a good way. It has been cooked. It has been fully baked. Here it is in its fullness, in its completeness, as complete as it can be, still imperfect, but way, way, way better than it was way back when it was still out in early release. And I think that coming back around now and playing it and seeing so many people, by the way, I've been keeping track of the Steam charts for Grand Tactician, and they've been going up and up and up and up and up and up and up. Players just keep picking this game up. And a lot of people, I think, are tuning in here. And it's not just me. There's other places. And watching how much fun you can still have with this years-old game, because I think that folks, you know, they learn, and this is something I think is kind of happening more and more across gaming, is that people are figuring out that the older games are kind of like, it seems like in the video game world that they're kind of running out of ideas, and that a lot of the older games are still a lot more enjoyable, at least for people like of my age. So that's kind of what I advocate for, I guess I would say, is if you really want to be careful with your hard-earned money, is to wait on a game. Now, here's the difference. A game like this and a company like that has put out this product like this is just going to be one I trust, because I believe this is the greatest black powder era, industrial era, grand strategic military sandbox and economic sandbox, and also battle simulator that I have ever seen in my entire gaming life. So I believe in what this group of guys is doing or has done with this game, and I believe that they will do a bang-up job on the next one that they're putting together. And then after that releases and they put their roadmap together, I believe that with lessons learned from how everything worked out with this Grand Tactician Civil War game, that the roadmap may be that much better, more sophisticated, crisp, you know, proper, good progression that makes sense for players as we get through, you know, the era. And I will be very interested, since I kind of trust these guys a lot, to jump on board the next thing that they're cooking and follow it all the way through, because I'm just now so fascinated in the process. So I guess maybe I would say that it's all dependent upon how it is that you want to approach a game, whether you're really excited about it or you're really cautious about it. What I would say is in today's environment is that caution is important. I think that what you can bank on is the idea that a game that's going to come out in early release and have a roadmap is going to be buggy. There's going to be things that make it imperfect, that you don't need to feel like you wasted your money. You just need to wait, and they will improve the game over time. And that something like 4 or 5 years down the road, you will still be able to come back and have an incredible immersive narrative experience like I do in the game today. So there's my soapbox speech about all of that. Making our way into early April. Yeah, agreed. I don't know exactly what it is that you do in-game to support the French invasions in Mexico, but I'll be taking action in that department, or I'll be wanting to. How's our economy now? Look at this now, plus 2.1. Fantastic. I think I would like for this to have an effect on our credit for just a little while longer. I like this tariff rate staying the same. Interest rate continues to go down a bit. We may not have to take out another loan. Got a new economy report. The current rating of our nation is A. Yep. Current economy cycle expansion is now mediocre and increasing over the previous month. Tax revenues increased another 24 million. Another prison camp built. Hey, we broke even on trade deficit. Okay, down in corporate production, fine. Yeah, our economy lacks iron for sure. Are we able to get iron from anywhere? I was looking at that earlier. I don't think so. Lead. Hazel over there snoring again. She's bored. Bronze. Paying a ton for it. Yeah, we're not able to get iron really anywhere. We need to look. How much do we have? So there's 35,000 afloat. Got it. Production, 30,000. Really? From where? It's foundries, right? Interesting. Okay, so I guess we're getting the production from this, the Jones McElwain and Company foundry in Memphis. Huh. Really? How? Oh, that's how. Okay. All right, well, they're going out of business. Let's go ahead. Economy. Let's bring the subsidies up a bit. Okay. And that'll be, that's going to be a really important place right there. Wow. Gosh, do we have others of those? Are there others of those anywhere? Where are the other foundries? So you've got Minnesota, Chicago, Pennsylvania. Okay, Nashville, there's one. And Richmond, there's one. And they make 122 and 120,000. So once we get those two, then we are going to be rocking and rolling and can send things to our armories or to our ironworks further south. Right? They'll be kind of... Railroads connect that all, so they should be good. That should be enough to make guns, cannon, and rifles. Should be. Still going to be eyeing this area for farms, pretty sure. And by the way, that reminds me. So, rice. Is there something in particular? Do you do a mill for rice? Let me pause the game really quick. It's overnight. And let me bring up my search engine in the background here. How to cultivate rice in Grand Tactician Civil War. Right. Taba instead. Plantation farm study. Rice is a localized cash crop that grows. Climate. You will find most of your rice cultivation potential concentrated in the river deltas. Yep. Because you cannot manually plop down rice fields, you must encourage local plantations to produce it rather than other cash crops. So, subsidy slayers allocate funding toward agriculture to boost regional plantation productivity. Favor agriculture growth trade. Rice is a distinct seasonal harvest window. Rice is typically harvested between June and October. Make sure your supply chains and local logistics are capable of moving the harvested rice out of the coastal plantations to local markets or ports before this window closes. Okay. Well, doubtful we're going to be able to figure that all out. Probably not going to plant a whole bunch more rice anytime real soon. But here we have... Oh, that's funny. What's this about? So let's do some agricultural subsidies. We should probably update that. Let's go ahead and subsidize. We're going to need the food anyway. Okay, that'll be fine. And then we'll go 0. No extra policies for now. That'll be fine. Hey, where is that iron mine? Let me go look. Good. Let me go look. Good call. Good call. Good call. Mines for the Confederacy. I don't think I have any. Oh, it was that you were talking about the foundry, right? In Memphis. This guy. How much would this cost me? okay. I'd have to spend $32 million to upgrade it. I can't do it, man. I can't do it. Not right now. Can't do it. But that's on the list. It's not really in Memphis. It's really in northern Mississippi right here. But upgrading that is a good idea. Matter of fact, upgrading a lot of those. Most likely. All right. Oh, here we go. Beauregard issues ultimatum. Major Anderson refuses to surrender. Uh-oh, at 4:30 a.m., Fort Johnson opens fire. Fort Sumter bombarded. Garrison returning fire. Open hostilities have begun. Lieutenant Harry S. Farley, acting upon the command of Captain George James, fired the first shot, a 10-inch mortar round, from Fort Johnson towards Fort Sumter. The events leading to this escalation started to unfold April 11th, when PGT Beauregard dispatched his aides to issue an ultimatum of surrender to the garrison. And we know how it all went from there, of course. It has begun, gentlemen. Now, we are overnight, so we will pause. I only ever pause at night. Knoxville, you're saying? Okay, yeah, well, when we get Tennessee, dink. Oh, no, that's... okay. That's in a mine. Oh, there it is. Iron mines. Bingo. Bingo. And they make iron ore. Ooh, yeah. 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 Do we have any others of those? Ooh, do we? Mines. Iron mines, right? No. We don't. It's all coal, lime, niter, gold in Chattanooga, and salt in Baton Rouge. Okay. How is it that you use a mine to produce salt? I thought you used salt works for that, of which we have a bunch. What's this? Yeah, we've got economy alerts everywhere, right? 0 our produced goods are worth approximately 0. Interesting. I'm not sure what's going on there. Again, we've had economy alarms. We had economy alarms throughout the entire war in my last campaign, so I'm not sure exactly what those are going to mean for us. Oh, that's right. So I think now, how close are we here? 8 days. See, now I think we can start to boost garrisons, right? So let's go. Fort Moultrie's garrison will get a boost. Oh, no, we're still not. Okay, still okay. All right. I thought it was on. I thought it was on now. Yeah, 85% support in Virginia. North Carolina, 80. Tennessee only 75. Arkansas only 75. Wow. What if we get Virginia but not North Carolina? I don't think that's possible. I don't think that's going to happen. Yeah, you got all these economy alarms. All this stuff worth nothing. I don't understand. Bingo. Fort Sumter surrendered. Bingo. 3,000 Confederate rounds fired. Boom. No casualties. How about that? President Lincoln had called the militia. The Civil War has commenced. There we go, gentlemen. So let's go to our fort garrisons. Since this is the epicenter, we're gonna RP this, okay? This is where troops would be raised immediately, I think. So let's go Fort Moultrie. What the heck? Okay. Okay. Open hostilities have commenced. Still in a very low state of readiness here. Everybody's arrived. I guess we're in a low state of readiness mainly because the war hasn't actually started yet, so they're not actually training for war per se. There's the Gulf of America squadron right here. Good. Good, fantastic. There's our market being built there. Good. Good, fantastic. Plus 1.8 mil. Good, good, good. Interest rates continue going down. Credit rating is going to stay relatively low because our GDP is probably ridiculously low. I mean, you know, you can see it right here. It has gone up, though. I think it was like 40 something. So I like the way our economy is looking right here.
This step, secession, once taken, can never be recalled. We and our posterity shall see our lovely South desolated by the demon of war. Alexander Stephens, Vice President of the Confederate States of America. Chapter 2. The Demon of War. The election of Abraham Lincoln, an anti-slavery Republican, as the 16th President of the United States was the last straw, triggering secession. One by one, Southern slave states declared secession from the Union and formed the Confederate States of America, led by President Jefferson Davis. This secession ignited the inevitable escalation, with fruitless efforts to still find a political compromise falling on deaf ears. Advocates of armed insurrection and fire eaters roam the states with steel in their eyes, and the public is aroused to volunteer, to fill the ranks,
Wow.
to quell the rebellion, and to preserve the Union or to secure independence from it. Following open hostilities, President Lincoln's militia call for 75,000 volunteers for 3 months' service, sparks incredulous protest and loud outcry among the southern states. And these sparks set on fire the irreversible. More states secede. Now it's war.
Oh boy.
75,000, 100,000, and even more. Soon, the largest armies seen on American soil muster, drill, and prepare for war. A war that is to be neat, short, and limited. The whole matter would be settled by Christmas. But a dark shadow would loom over the growing and inexperienced armies. Without a swift and decisive blow from the very offset of the war, there's every chance of a long, confused, and disorganizing civil war, and even foreign powers may feel a desire to take a hand therein.
Yeah.
The time is ticking for the newborn Confederacy. The Union must act. The demon of war has awakened.
Indeed. Okay. Whoa. Okay. So, here we go, boys. It begins April 15th, 1861. The game gives us some troops. We have the Army of the Potomac right here. Brigadier General Philip St. George Cocke in command. And I would say, wait a minute. Civil War, further southern states to cede. Confederate armies on the move. Europeans reluctant to take sides. New campaign objectives. Okay. No, not times 5. Goodness gracious, stop. Okay. We're about an hour behind. The AI had made a few decisions there. I'm sure their readiness is probably low. I need to take a look at this stuff, okay? General Cocke with General Ewell, Jones, and Hampton with some artillery. So this is interesting. The Army of the Potomac, very much smaller than they were in history, as you can see. Hampton's division with Magruder, D.H. Hill, and John Bell Hood with some cavalry. That's funny. And some artillery here, 6-pounders. We have the James River Squadron under Captain French Forrest that has the CSS Jamestown and the Patrick Henry. We'll have some more ships we might be able to add there. The Army of the Shenandoah under Brigadier General Joseph E. Johnston. We knew he'd end up getting in. We've got Colonel Thomas Jackson in command of Jackson's brigade. We'll have Jeb Stuart here. And William Pendleton. Captain William Pendleton with 4 guns, 12-pound Napoleons. Nice. Oh, Jackson's troops will have Enfields to start with. And Stuart's troops will have the Merrill Carbine to start with. Nice. Look at how they look there. Nice. How about these guys? We didn't look detailed at that. The Mississippi Rifles, Springfield Muskets, Mississippi Rifles, and the 6-pounders. So 1, 2, 3 brigades, 1,800 men, and 500 or so men. We'll probably want to reinforce that with more brigades. I would say very beginning, though, can we not construct anything? Nope. Okay. We must be too low on readiness to even try to construct anything. We could take this depot, though, maybe. It's within our command. It's within his, too, though. Might be doing something up here soon enough. We got the Army of the Northwest under Brigadier General George A. Porterfield with George H. Smith commanding. He's a volunteer. I mean, I feel like we have to keep him, but let's just see what we've got. Professionals, infantry. Okay. Colonel Withers, he's better. Let's do William Loring. Oh, no. Okay. Loring. Promote him into Brigadier General. Fine. We'll give them some of the Springfield rifled muskets. Army of the Northwest at 700 men. That's fine. Then we'll have the Army of Tennessee under Brigadier General Felix Zollicoffer. We'll have Preston Smith in command. 1 brigade. Let's go ahead. Let's do a replacement for him. Let's have Simon Buckner Sr. take over. Alexander Stewart. Yeah, he's an artillery guy with 4 guns. 6-pound field guns. Boy, if we had 4 10-pound Parrots right off the beginning, boy, that'd be something. Let's give him 12-pound field guns. 1,500 men and 4 cannon for the Army of Tennessee, right? How many troops do we have to draw from right now? Still 18,000 or so? Okay. So we'll be... we're going to be doing a full round of troop deployments, I'm thinking. I don't know. Not many. The 69th Regiment of Irish. Yeah, I wouldn't be able to tell you for sure. Oh, looky here. Okay. So, all right, sweet. So, all these forts fell under our control without us having to do anything. Fantastic, man. Okay. These boys are going to be getting ready. Unit is slow to recover. Yeah, this unit is probably waiting. Okay. I guess readiness is going to just take a really long time. Can we build a depot with these guys? No. Can't build anything. Damn it. Alright. I guess there's just not going to be a whole hell of a lot we can do. Now, Hampton is absolutely going to go down this way. I think that is priority number 1. Over this way, I think at some point, if we can run down here and grab Fortress Monroe and secure Richmond from that side, I think that would be important just as kind of an operational prerogative. Oh, but, boy, this is exciting, guys. Oh, looky here. We've got the Missouri State Guard under Sterling Price, of course. 2,000 men and 4 guns. With the Department of the West under the Union Command right here with 7,500 men, 5 guns. Oh, interesting. Okay. So obviously out in Missouri, I think we're going to be getting busy early. Very interesting. Very interesting indeed. Oh, this is so cool. The Confederate campaign commences. Arkansas, Tennessee, North Carolina, and Virginia have all joined the South. We have the Native Americans on our side as well with some plans to do some interesting things out west. We're going to lock down the Gulf Coast. We are going to lock down Richmond, and we're going to fight it out as the South rises once again. Gentlemen, I think at long last, that is about going to do it for tonight's stream. We're going to jump back into our headquarters, and we'll be wrapping things up for tonight. This has been fun, huh? This is good stuff. Our Confederate campaign has begun, and we are now into wartime. We've gotten through the entire preparatory phase and the pre-war phase. Done a few things with our economy to try to tweak it and make it just a little bit stronger as we're coming into the war. I think we did a pretty good job with that. We're going to have to do a few more things on that front. We're going to have to garrison a bunch of forts, probably call in a bunch of reinforcements for armies across the map. It's all stuff we're going to cover when we come back to Grand Tactician the Civil War and our Confederate campaign on the next stream. That's coming up on Wednesday night. Be here for it, of course. Don't forget, if you like the stream, hype it, thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and of course, don't forget it's at Alternate History Gaming. I'm Bank60s, your humble and gracious player host. We'll see you guys on the next one. Have a good night. Later.